Welcome back, Cowboys Nation. Today, we don't have the usual crew. We've got Bennett, we've got David, and today we are going to be previewing the Cowboys. I'll just say right now, the game of the year for the Dallas Cowboys. This Sunday on Sunday Night Football, the entire world watching Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles from the Big D. Sunday Night Football should be what we're expecting to be an incredible game. But today we're both going to be breaking this game down as we usually do, offense, defense. We might even have a little cameo guest appearance from one of our buddies later on in the pod. So just be on the lookout for that. But we should have a good show for you guys. We're really excited to talk about this game today. Obviously, it's a really big game. I don't think that can be overstated enough. I mean, especially considering how both of these teams, being the Cowboys and the Eagles, looked last week. There is a lot of potential here, especially with what is on the line and ultimately first place in the NFC East and potentially even the one seed in the NFC. So I guess before we get into really, breaking everything down, have we checked the injury reports for either side?
And then I know for the Cowboys, I don't have the Eagles, so if you could pull it up.
Yeah.
But Cowboys injury report is pretty standard. We got out of last week pretty unscathed. I guess the one big kind of news is Hendershot is activated from his 21-day practice window, and Sean McCown is now on IR. So that was kind of like a pretty lateral move. That was great. Matt Walzeko, tackle.
Well, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. He is activated from the 21, or he is now on the 21-day practice window. So blah blah blah. Tyron obviously not participating in practice. Neither is Zach Martin. NIR, just a vet rest kind of thing. We know what they're capable of. And then the only other possible Cowboys injury would be Rico Dowdle, and he's limited with an ankle. He's been limited with an ankle the past 4 weeks now, I think. So nothing really to write home about. Relatively healthy Cowboys. Let's get them, Cowboys.
Hell yeah. And for the Eagles, just taking a look at their injury report that they tweeted out today, looks like the only players, I guess, of note, Darius Slay did not practice today. Neither did Julio Jones, old man Julio. Zach Cunningham was a limited participant today. Their inside linebacker, solid player. He was limited, but he did tell reporters that he will play on Sunday night. I'll do a little digging and see what I can find about Darius Slay. But one thing, speaking of the name Darius, I don't think that we'll see Darius Shaquille Leonard this week. At least that's what I'm anticipating. He did participate in his first full practice with the Eagles today. I just saw some clips of that, but it doesn't look like we're going to see him. And something that I just kind of wanted to, I guess, start off our discussion about the game. Obviously, it's Cowboys-Eagles. It's the second game of the year. We know in our hearts that we should have had them in the first game. And something that I thought was pretty ironic, just in case it was not clear, this is not a pro Nick Sirianni podcast whatsoever.
At all.
Yeah, not even in the slightest. Despise his existence as a human being, to be quite honest. And apparently Shaquille Leonard said that one of the reasons that he signed with the Philadelphia Eagles was because of Nick Sirianni. And I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but he basically inadvertently called the Cowboys soft. So your thoughts on that?
Give us all the bulletin board material we fucking want. Darius Shaq Leonard, first of all, it should go unsaid. Nice name change. You haven't been the same fraud. Yep. Two, you're washed. And 3, have fun in Carolina next year, buddy, since they're the only team that will probably cough up money to pay your washed ass. So keep giving this team bulletin board material. We have Marquee Spell. We have Damone Clark. We don't fucking need you. So if one thing to call the Cowboys, blah, 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 whatever. If you choose a team that has Nick Sirianni as a head coach that prides themselves on finishing first loser last year and whatever, we made the Super Bowl, congrats, you're first fucking loser if you don't win it. So if you want to make the Super Bowl and lose, be part of the Eagles, but the Cowboys are destined for greatness this year. And if you didn't want to ride with number 4 and you want to choose Jalen Hurts, who has a little noodle dick arm, be my guest, because you know what, I'm sick and tired of this whole stigma that we're soft. I've been a perpetrator of calling us soft, but only Cowboys fans and Dallas Ballers clubs are allowed to call the Dallas Cowboys fucking soft, not a Philadelphia fucking Eagle. So you know what, Shaq Leonard, have fun. You know what? I hope they play you, and I hope JSAT Ferg torches your ass on a fucking pass play. Please, please. Nothing but a body on the field, bud.
All right. Love that. Getting started with some heat and some barbs here. And just to dig a little deeper on that, obviously I do echo you. I'm not going to, repeat what you said, but I do agree. Obviously, I mean, we're the Dallas Ballers Club, not the Philly Ballers Club. So, I mean, we're not a pro Eagles podcast in any way. I think both of our least favorite team in all of sports. Just classless, trash organization, fan base, city. So don't really care. Clip this, put it wherever you want. I'm out on Philadelphia, just as a whole. A couple other things to note, just in terms of adding fuel to the fire here. Obviously, we know that the Eagles got spanked last week by the 49ers. The Niners are a whole different beast right now. That's a topic for another time. But I'm looking at this tweet from GPA Football here. It's a video clip of A.J. Brown in the locker room. And he said after the Eagles lost to the 49ers that they didn't play with the same energy that the Niners did. And he was asked by reporters if it was addressed. And he said, quote, "I'm going to keep what was said in the locker room, but you're going to see Sunday." So it sounds like Eagles, maybe a little bit of panic setting in. That's just the way that I'm going to look at it, and use our platform to just start the narrative that the Eagles are panicking. Let's just be the first ones to report that the Eagles called AJ Brown called a players only meeting. Yeah. Let's be the first ones to report. We don't know. Well, I mean, obviously, some things that we say on this pod are not exactly factual, but it hasn't been confirmed nor denied. So we're just going to run with the narrative that AJ Brown called an Eagles players only meeting because he panicked after their embarrassment last weekend. So let's just get that out there on the record. And then second thing to note before we actually get into this game, John Hussey will be the head referee for Sunday's game against the Cowboys. Potentially bad news for us. The Eagles are 7-0 when he referees, including last year's Monday Night Football game against the Cowboys, as well as last year's NFC Championship game. In those games, the Eagles were penalized just 6 times compared to 21 for their opponents. So something to watch out for. We know how the Cowboys love to commit penalties in primetime games. So that is something to look out for. Could see a lot of phantom offsides calls and mythical pass interference calls on Stephon Gilmore on a ball that only Victor Wembanyama could catch. But I digress. But okay, getting into the actual game here. It's Cowboys. It's the Eagles. It's Sunday Night Football. Carrie Underwood's going to get us going as she does every week. Shout out to Carrie. Looking great. Wine. Aged like fine wine. Legs of a... yeah. I'll stop myself there. there.
For sure.
Okay, but starting with our offense. And this is something else I wanted to bring up. I know I sent it in our group chat today, but Nick Bosa kind of with the PSA to the Cowboys today, which I thought was interesting. And again, paraphrasing here because I don't have it, readily available in front of me, but basically said that the 49ers laid the blueprint out to beat the Eagles in what they did last week, and obviously with how they embarrassed them.
It's almost like
And
we called that first too, Bennett, if you really read between the lines on what he said. It's almost
yeah,
like fans, if you haven't seen it, not to cut you off, Bennett, but it's almost like a disciplined pass rush with not a lot of stunts that keeps Jalen Hurts in the pocket, because we all know Jalen Hurts isn't a great reader of a defense. And so it's kind of new knowledge to me that how much he looks and watches the D line before looking at his wide receivers. So 49ers knew that, didn't play hero ball, stayed disciplined in their pass rush lanes, and shocker, Jalen Hurts played like shit, and so did the Eagles.
Yep.
So, it's almost like we were calling that week 3 against the Arizona Cardinals about we just need a disciplined pass rush, no hero ball. And today, or I guess Sunday, is no exception of that. And one of those games where we need to see that more than ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And kind of even reading further in between the lines, and I guess just to kind of dumb it down, basically what Nick Bosa said is that the Cowboys need to make Jalen Hurts beat them with his arm. Um, Obviously, as Spanky said in his opening comments, talking about a noodle, what arm that Jalen Hurts has. Um, and again, this is not, an anti, oh, Jalen Hurts is trash. He's a very good quarterback. He's not better than our quarterback. I can tell you that, but he's a very good quarterback. Does he deserve to be in top 4 of the MVP running? Absolutely not. But that's a topic for maybe later on. But I need to see it with him in terms of him going up against this defense. I need to see him beat us with his arm. If we can do what Bosa said and have, like you said, that disciplined pass rush, we're not running crazy stunts, letting him step up in the pocket and run all over us, and we force him to just drop back 40 times and try to beat us with his arm, I like our chances a whole lot better with that. And speaking of dropping back 40 times, I want to get, because this is about our offense here, but I think similar to how we called it in the first Philadelphia game, this is going to be a preview for my Cover Zero take. Well, I guess not even a preview, but just a spoiler. But this is the game where Dak Prescott establishes himself as the MVP frontrunner. I'm just going to say that right now. This is going to be the game where Dak finally shuts up a lot of haters, a lot of people, as I literally predicted when we talked about before the Seattle game of, oh, Cowboys haven't beat a good team yet, and then they beat Seattle, and now they're 500 with the Niners this week, and then the Eagles next week, and they're staring down the barrel of 6-8. Like, the narrative is already out there that, oh, Dak just stat pads against bad teams. Dak can't beat good teams. And this is going to be the week where Dak shuts the haters up on national television, and the Cowboys win this football game at home on Sunday Night Football with all of America and all of the world watching because of number 4, because of Dak Prescott. That's how I want to start this off.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have worded it any better. The whole argument that Dak's a stat patter against bad teams is so bizarre to me, because I think he's not played in about 4 fourth quarters now.
I think it's higher.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Jalen Hurts is throwing fucking every under route known to mankind down 30 points at home against San Francisco 49ers, which is a textbook definition of fucking stat padding. So I don't understand that argument. 2, this is a game where Dak Prescott could have won us the game in Philly. And I'll be the first one to say that. He unlucky ass breaks. The Schoonmaker touchdown, which I don't know how it's a catch there. Yet, if he didn't maintain possession when following through into the end zone, it's not a catch. So it's
Should have
kind
been
of
a PI.
correct. He was already getting tackled. That Dak laying out and getting a yard short when he kind of somersaulted over Darius Slay, and 3 Dak stepping out at the 8-inch line. And so, as if Ford needed any other motivation going into this week, he understands what that loss did to not only this team as a whole, but he definitely saw all the media react to it. Everyone, he's a human being too, people. And you know what? Some people get fed up over seeing their name and seeing people have their name in their mouth talking all this nonsense. And so, huge game for him. Second big game needed is CeeDee Lamb. You brought up Darius Slay was on the injury report. Fucking James Bradbury shouldn't even be able to cover him. Like, simply put, Bradbury's washed. Slay shouldn't be able to lace CeeDee's cleats. Like, it's as simple as we need to give our best playmakers the ball. I totally expect CeeDee to go off. I totally expect Jake Ferguson to have a great game, especially with a banged up Eagles linebacking core and no Shaq Leonard, who, for what starters, is not a good pass coverage linebacker. And 3, we need Brandon Cooks. We need to show them what this unleashed Brandon Cooks can do to this team. Give me Brandon Cooks. Give me Turpin. Give me Dowdle. Give me Pollard. Give me everyone. We need to space the ball out, but more importantly, we need to give the ball to our playmakers in space. And so this is a week where, unfortunately, probably one of the larger topics of the week. Shout out Mike McCarthy, huge football guy, going into surgery, and you're not keeping an Irishman off the sideline, says Dan fucking Quinn. And so not only is this a Dak revenge game, this is a Mike McCarthy post-surgery revenge game. And so if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator and I'm looking at all of our metrics and I'm trying to crunch some film, seeing, he motions here, he motions there, just know Mike McCarthy's going to come out fresh out of surgery. He looked death in the eye and death blinked first. This is Mike McCarthy, huge football guy. So I'm expecting a lot of aggressive play calling this week. I think we're going to try to take the game, not be handed it, not let our defense decide the game. I think Mike McCarthy's going to go out there and show Philadelphia time. I think Jerry called down. I think Schottenheimer's talking to the team right now. I think Dan Quinn's talking to the defense and saying we have to put on a show. This game gets us, what? Are we half a game back technically because they have a tiebreaker probably?
I don't think they do. Because we would be tied with them are you talking about Philadelphia?
Yeah.
We would be tied with them record-wise, then it comes down to divisional record. So we would be tied, and then we have one more game against Washington left.
Yeah, and so this team knows. Everyone around the Cowboys know. They know this game is probably going to set a Sunday Night Football record. If I were to bet, it's probably going to set a record on how many people watch it. And that should become no shocker. It's America's team against that dumpster of Philadelphia, And this is a game not only our passing attack needs to put in that work, we need to see Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle show the Philadelphia Eagles a time. By taking a game over, that means establishing a run. That means we give Dowdle the ball between the tackles. That means we put Pollard into space. But I fully expect this offensive play calling and scheme to be attack, attack, attack. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And just to give our listeners more context here, Mike McCarthy, if you haven't seen the news, he went into surgery, yesterday morning or Tuesday morning, with acute appendicitis, I believe. Dak said that he saw Mike McCarthy in the facility as he was on his way to the hospital, and he said McCarthy looked like a ghost because he was so pale and obviously wasn't feeling right. But I love what you said. Just in terms of our offense, they are banged up right now. We are at home. We're putting the longest home winning streak in the NFL on the line on Sunday night against our hated division rival. And to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't want to have it any other way. beating the Eagles, getting our revenge from earlier this season in a game that, as we said earlier, as we've said numerous times, a game that we all know that we should have won, easily could have and should have won. It is going to be sweet on Sunday night, and I cannot wait to see um just to see how this team comes out and performs. I am so fired up for this game. It's actually unbelievable. It's been, and even us just talking about it right now, like it's getting me so fired up. Just thinking about this game, I want nothing more than to beat Philadelphia. And I already know what the excuse is going to be if we win this game and Cowboys fans go crazy. It's going to be like, oh yeah, just like the Niners, or not the Niners, the Eagles fans tried to tell Niners fans last week, like, oh yeah, congratulations on winning the Super Bowl in Week 13. Which, that's an argument that we made to Niners fans as well, on Twitter after we lost to them. But uh, you know, that's not the point.
Yeah.
But don't really know why I brought that up. That's not the point. But this is a game where, again, and just to echo what you said, it has to be a CeeDee Lamb game. It's got to be a Jake Ferguson game. Something that I want to see a lot more of than we saw in the first Philadelphia game, especially considering how well he's been rolling the last couple weeks, is I want to see more looks for Brandon Cooks. He was pretty much invisible in the first game. I think he finished with like one catch, maybe only had like 2 or 3 targets. I want to see an increased role from Brandon Cooks. Eagles have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Well, we have CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. I want to see a big game out of Cooks, obviously a big game out of 87 and 88, and obviously most importantly, and what I'm fully expecting until proven otherwise on that field Sunday night, a big statement game for number 4. So
Absolutely.
with all that being said, unless you have anything else to add, I want to get into our killers.
One thing I just want to add.
Sure.
We know how and why we lost this game. The Eagles didn't beat us. We lost this game. If we sense number 78 is kind of having a faulty game, we better have Ferg chip. We better have the line shift. We better do everything in our power to negate Hassan Reddick's speed rushing upside. And I just want to throw that out there. You know what? My killer of the week will be, drum roll, Terrence fucking Steele.
Okay.
He's a guy. Here's a guy.
Now here's a guy.
He's a guy that came under a lot of scrutiny when he went against the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, and has quietly been putting on a good show. I don't want to get too much PTSD from last time we played Philly with Terrence Steele, but he's a guy I want to highlight, just needs to have a good game. He needs to show us that he's been putting in the work. He needs to show us that he's been crunching film. He needs to show us all this stuff. And you know what? He's one of the better run blocking right tackles in the league. He needs to prove it. We need to move bodies. We need to move the line of scrimmage. And so, you know what? My first offensive lineman individual kill of the week. Let's go, Terrence Steele. Let's go.
I love that. I actually love that. That's a hilarious, but actually a really important pick. And that's something that we did kind of gloss over. Obviously, the nightmare in Philadelphia that was number 78, our right tackle, Terrence Steele. And you did a great job of framing that. He just can't have a repeat of what he did the first time that we played them. He has to replicate what he did in the weeks after that, especially he didn't have a great game last week, which worries me a little bit, especially considering how ferocious that Eagles defensive line is, which we'll talk about momentarily. But he needs to have a really big bounce back game, because he will be blocking for my kill of the week, and I already kind of spoiled it already, but it's going to be Dak Prescott. It's going to be this guy right here, this jersey right here, number 4. Again, it's like I said earlier, I'll try to keep this short, but this game is similar to how it's been in almost every game since the Niners game. It's going to be won or lost by the arm, and as we're seeing a lot more of the legs of Dak Prescott, it's going to be a game in which he's going to have his A game. He's going to have to be on. And it's something that when I look at this game and just knowing our guy, Dak Prescott, I know that he's going to show up in this game and that he's gonna do what he does best, and that's beat the shit out of NFC East teams. And so my prediction this week for Dak Prescott on national television, he's gonna go for 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns this week, and will lead Cowboys to a win.
God, I would be a problem on Twitter if that happens.
Oh yeah,
when that happens.
MVP front runner. I'll have this jersey on Sunday night, watching it from the couch, not the game. Almost bought into a scam on Twitter. Well,
you were very close.
Won't get into that. Never. Okay, I wasn't that close. I never sent any information over. But did I believe a little bit too hard? Yes. Let's just say I was a little bit overly optimistic. Thankfully, I had some good advisors such as David to be like, "You're a fucking idiot," which I was. Obviously, with that in the rearview mirror,
Could I preface this?
Oh God.
AWLs, specifically Mr. Lehman.
Oh, God.
$150 were the price of the tickets Bennett was interested in, and let's just say they were going for well above $3,000 a ticket on any trustworthy site. So it was maybe him wanting to believe it was true rather than him knowing it's true.
Correct.
But at the same time, he had to be talked out of it.
I also want to and we're already spending too much time on this, more than I wanted, but I do just want to make it clear. I was never close to sending any payment information or anything like that over. I was doing what we call in sales. I was doing some very good discovery. I was asking, I was asking I had a lot of questions. I had sent screenshots over to David and to Stu and to our other friend Brady, who will actually probably be hearing from shortly here. Spoiler alert, but I did send it over to our Cowboys fan group chat with the 4 of us, and I said, obviously with Spanky being in the frigid Northeast and David and Clayton being in the DFW, I basically threw it out there and said, hey, if I could get tickets to Sunday night, would you guys be interested? And I will say the guy on Twitter, he did a really good job. I believe it's a scam. Obviously, he said, and this was what finally got me over the edge here, was I asked him how long ago he bought the tickets because he sent me the receipt of the tickets. It showed that he paid about like $190 for 5 tickets, and he lives in Atlanta, was not able to make it to the game, so he said he was selling the tickets. I then looked at on ticket distribution platforms, Ticketmaster, StubHub, Vivid Seats, all those. Saw that 150 was obviously not within the realm of possibility. To be even for standing room only, I think tickets were like 200 plus, or at least 150, 175 plus for standing room only tickets. So then the gears finally started to turn, and I was like, okay, I'm being scammed. And I was able to catch him in a almost trap where I said, how long ago did you buy these tickets? And he said about a month ago. And even if you go back a month ago, Cowboys Eagles Sunday Night Football tickets are not going for $190. They're just not, especially in the 200 level where he was telling me that the tickets would be. And I also just want to get this on record. I was very tired. I was very very delirious. My girlfriend was over. She was telling me it was obviously a scam, and I was in denial. And then after being told by her and then by David, Clayton, and Brady that, hey, you're an idiot, then it fully started to sink in. So thankfully I have a good backbone that kept me from potentially being out like $500 So shout out to the boys and shout out to my girlfriend. But okay, that's not important. Didn't get scammed, still have the money. And to whoever buys those tickets from that dude on Twitter, if they're legit, please post a picture. Because then I'll know that I'll be damned. So, but okay, moving on to the other side here. We got to talk about our defense. We had a lot to talk about on Monday's episode. Last week's game, I guess I'll just start this by asking you, with how the Cowboys performed last week, and how bad they looked, what's your panic level of our defense going into this game? And I feel like I know relatively what your answer is going to be. Let's say scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not worried at all. It was just fatigue of third game in 11 days, and 10 being Dallas, we might have a problem.
I would say a healthy 3.5 would be
Okay.
my answer.
I was thinking you were gonna say like a 3. So
Yeah.
okay.
I really want to write it off as a fatigue game, and I strongly believe that the Eagles got the excuse of third game in 13 days. Why can't our Cowboys get an excuse? Although we win a game, like obviously we're not going to be playing our best football, but we had a healthy break. Eagles still had a regular game week, if not less, since they played the Niners at such a fun time for the Cowboys. But yeah, it's at a 3.5. Nick Bosa really gave us the insight of how to stop Jalen Hurts. Not like it wasn't brutally obvious at first, but Dan Quinn, as we all know, likes to get creative for better or worse. And sometimes that nips us in the butt, and sometimes that does us really good justice. And I think today, and all right, I guess should I say Sunday, is an example of we need to trust our guys to create pressure and matchups that we like. Does that mean I want to see us stunting DeMarcus Lawrence across the line of scrimmage to go from the whole left side to basically rushing like a right end? No, I do not want to see that. Now, could it work? Yeah. Has it worked? Yeah. But this is a game where simply best on best. It needs to. We should just line up and play football. Is how I want our team to play. Now that also ties into what I'm about to say is I've called this defensive line out for playing hero ball too much. And that's really kind of what I want to hone in on is if we keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket, if we keep Jalen Hurts kind of second guessing, he pulls his eyes off the line of scrimmage, and Micah Parsons, we damn well know how fast he is, closes the gap. Like, we just need to stay committed to the process. We need to believe in Dan Quinn's play calling. We need to believe in the guys behind us. We need to just believe. And this is a game where our best players need to play. You know who I'm expecting a good game out of? Deron Bland. You know who I'm expecting a good game out of? DeMarcus Lawrence. You know who I'm expecting a good game out of is Micah Parsons. Mm-hmm. This is Micah's city now, and it shouldn't come as any shocker to anyone that's hearing this. Dallas is Micah's city, and Micah is Dallas right now. He is the largest person in Dallas right now. I think he's a larger component than Luka. I think he's a larger component than Dak right now. He's a young superstar. He's a young generational talent, and he is the face of the Dallas Cowboys right now. He needs to have a game. He needs to show the world what the Cowboys fans have been preaching, and I know he gets his flowers, but put on like a TJ Watt, put on like a Myles Garrett would in this game and take it over. You saw everyone was giving Lane Johnson his flowers for that one snap where Nick Bosa fell or got pushed over by Lane, and Lane jumped on top of him. Micah, if you know what, I'm giving you a free pass. If Lane Johnson does that to you, take a shot at him. Not a punch. During the play, take a run at him. And You know what? Sam Williams, if they try that tush push, take a run at the pushers. They don't have the head of security on the sideline right now. They are defenseless. They don't have Big Al or whatever his name was.
Is Dom suspended?
Yeah, Dom is probably not allowed on an NFL sideline ever again. If they
Good.
took a TikTok reporter off for Tyreek Hill doing a backflip with his phone. I don't think Dom's gonna be allowed back on a game. So
Good. Ban Dom.
yeah,
Ban Dom.
fuck them. And
I'm out on Dom.
Yeah, I wouldn't say AJ Brown or Devontae Smith instill fear in me. And that's famous last words.
We were right the first time when we said that his streak was going to be broken.
Correct.
So
I just have tremendous belief in this defensive unit. I have tremendous belief that we let Seattle kind of have their way with us, and I'm writing it off as fatigue. But man, our defense tends to respond after games like that. Our defense is now fully rested. We got guys rested. We got a whole 3-4 days longer rest than the Philadelphia Eagles, and so I'm expecting us to play lights out. My key to victory for Sunday might come as a hot take, but it's not necessarily anything to do with the pass game. It is fully taking away their run game. We did a great job at containing DeAndre Swift, and not going to lie, the rest of their ball carriers don't instill fear at all in me.
Nope.
Probably not even bodies on an NFL roster unless they're on the Panthers or fucking Bears probably. But if we contain DeAndre Swift, who as a DeAndre Swift fantasy manager, I am fully committed. DeAndre Swift and Devontae Smith fantasy manager, I am playing Calvin Ridley at the flex. I've benched both Eagles. I've fully committed. Dallas Cowboys defense starting. CeeDee Lamb starting. So, some people will hate on me, but I'm putting the money where my mouth is and being confident in the Dallas Cowboys. And it starts with completely obliterating an already injured DeAndre Swift to negate a Philadelphia run game.
Yeah. I don't have too much more to add to that. Other than that, again, with our defense, they played a pretty solid game the first time that we played Philadelphia. I look for us to replicate that, and just overall, just again, can't let their running game get going early. As I said in the opener, make Jalen Hurts beat us with his arm. If he does it, then so be it. Tip your cap, move on. But I don't believe that he can do it. Not against this defense. So again, make Jalen Hurts beat us with his arm, but I don't see it happening. I see a bounce back game for our defense. My panic meter is probably similar to where you had it, just for the sake of being different. I'll say like a 4. Not really worried about it. And I think that this is a bounce back performance for this defense. This is a statement game for this defense, and this is a statement game for the Dallas Cowboys, as I've already said. So with that being said, because we've got our first ever live caller here is going to be calling in momentarily here, and he's getting a little bit antsy. But let's go ahead before we call him in. Let's go ahead and knock out our Hot Boy picks. So I'll let you take the lead.
Gears are churning. I'm split. I have a kind of out of left field pick, and I have an obvious one. And I'm going to ride, since my offensive one, my killer, was out of left field. Number 11, Micah Parsons. He needs to put his foot on the throat of the Philadelphia Eagles offense and have his way. Should be depoy, could be depoy, however you want to phrase it. If Dak Prescott cements his NFL MVP odds this week, who cements his depoy odds this week is Micah Parsons. Early take, Micah has 2 sacks and a forced fumble.
I love that. Okay. So Micah cements himself as the depoy. Dak cements himself as MVP. We've got some fire going on here. Okay, for my Hot Boy pick, and this has been a popular pick for me in big time games, just because I know the caliber of player that he is, and he's the kind of guy that even if no one else is playing with urgency or acting like they give a shit like last weekend, this is the guy that I know unquestioned will give 110% effort for the star on his helmet, and that's number 90, DeMarcus Lawrence. I think that this is just the kind of game where DeMarcus Lawrence makes a big impact play. We saw it last week when he had the huge tackle for loss of Zach Charbonnet on, what was it, like 4th and 1 in Dallas territory? Yeah, 4th and 2. In that big play. This is the kind of game where DeMarcus Lawrence is either going to have a big tackle for loss or is going to get a big sack at some point in the game. And I have no question that this guy is going to show up because he always does. So I'll say DeMarcus Lawrence is either going to have a huge TFL or sack this week in a crucial moment for my pick for my
I
hot
love
boy.
that. And I just want to light a fire under a position group's ass. The Cowboys would win pretty damn decisively if Jaron Kearse and Donovan Wilson took a step forward in their play this week. Not only would Donovan Wilson and Jaron Kearse, obviously they're safeties, we need them in pass coverage. Donovan Wilson was a bit late in his zone to the opening touchdown to DK Metcalf, and has been a kind of a shadow of himself lately with the heavy hits and all of that. Same with Jaron Kearse, but we need those two players playing a game, and not only playing a game, I really want to see Donovan Wilson just absolutely light someone up.
Yeah. And so with that being said, we alluded to it earlier, but we have our first ever live call into the Dallas Ballers Club. We have our good friend and a fellow diehard Cowboys fan, hopefully future guest on the podcast. We have our buddy Brady King. Brady, say what's up to the pod.
Oh, I'm fired up, to be honest. Is it the DVC hotline?
This is the DVC hotline, buddy. You're with Burke and Spank.
I'm honored.
All right. So, obviously you called in for a reason. We understand that you have some things that you kind of want to fire off here. And I know that you had a question to kind of get us started here. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, let's start it off with something juicy. As far as the general question goes, who is your least favorite player on the Eagles? It is Eagles hate week, and there's not many of them that you can like. So just curious as to who y'all's individual least favorites are.
Great question. So mine is actually not a player. It's Nick Sirianni. He embodies everything that I hate and despise about the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Spanky, what did you have?
Dude, it might be a hot take. It might be a hot take here, but I fucking hate Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce for Spanky.
Okay, yeah, just a heads up here. I can't hear a damn word David's saying.
Of course. Yeah, so. It's coming through my headset, so whenever Spanky says something, I'll be the middleman.
Well, this should be interesting.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, something that we wanted to ask you, Brady, since you so graciously called in. So Spanky and I, we were just doing our offensive breakdown and then our defensive breakdown, and we talked about our killers for offense and our hot boys of the week. So basically your key players for the week. So we were wondering who you had for your killer of the week to start, and then your hot boy of the week.
Oh, I got a killer. My killer is just coming out of his shell right now, turning into the monster that we hoped he could be. I got Jake Ferguson.
Yeah.
He's playing out of his mind right now. You can tell the confidence is growing every week. He's obviously has a good relationship with Dak. Loving him talking shit and staring down defenders and just playing with an absolute chip on his shoulder. So he's definitely my offensive killer for the week.
Okay. Love that pick. Spank and I both love that pick. If you were to, let's say, just a relative stat line for Jake Ferguson, what would you put him at for this game?
Yeah, I think in a game like this, with a team like the Eagles that relies so much on their front seven, it's going to be a lot of those little option routes for him in the middle. I see him getting quite a lot of targets, probably somewhere around 7 to 8 catches, maybe 84 yards and a touchdown.
Ooh, okay. Okay. 7 for 84 and a touchdown. Spanky, if you have the Google Doc in front of you, if you could add that since my hands are kind of full here. Okay, so what about for the other side of the ball? Your hot boy of the week.
Yeah, I'm taking a little bit of a turn here. We're going from the opposite of a player on fire like Jake Ferguson, and I'm gonna go to Jaron Curse.
Oh,
He's been an absolute liability in some games this year, but we know he has big play potential every single week. And I would be on the lookout for a punch out fumble, something big. And Curse always comes up for games like this. You know he's going to be flying around. So that's mine for this week. I think he needs to be watched pretty closely here.
okay. Okay. I love that pick. So big game from JSAP Ferg, our guy, and a big game from Jaron Curse.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need it from play really badly. I mean, you can kind of tell from last game with the way they were moving the ball. It seemed like the whole game, even though we lost, we were kind of dominating.
Right.
And they're struggling to get plays, and they get that big chunk play, and a lot of that came from our safeties just being not very good. So I think our safeties are going to play a huge factor in this game.
Okay. Okay. I love that. And so I guess we just got two more quick things here. Spanky and I are about to give ours after we've wrapped this up with you. But what do you have for your score prediction this week?
Yeah, see it going a few ways. I really feel like for some reason that we kind of end up pulling away from this game in the end. I could really see something around. I mean, I'm gonna go with 27-17 out
Okay.
of respect for those dirtbags. They are a good football team. But I really would not be surprised if we see like a 38-15 or something like that too. I really think our offense clicks, move the ball well. But I did want to touch on something real quick.
Yeah.
And it's been driving me insane this year because it's been what we've been built on for the past 10. We can't run the ball right now very well in the first half. It seems like in the fourth quarter, typically TP will break off a run or Dowdle will get some big runs. But our interior push this year has just been brutally bad, I think. I think our offensive line is, especially in the passing game. I like Oddish. Obviously, I love Tyler Smith. I think Zach Martin is a dog, but it just seems like we can't create very much separation on the interior right now, and everything has to go to the outside, or we hand the ball off to CD. So I really think it starts with that interior push, and when you're going against some monsters that the Eagles have on the D-line, I think it's going to be really important to be able to run the ball, but not just run the ball in the second half. We need to get it going early and open up everything else over the top.
I love that. So issuing a challenge for the Cowboys run game is Brady today.
Yes, I'm issuing a challenge, especially to our O-line.
Okay. I love that. Okay, so last thing that we have for you, Brady, and then we'll let you go so we can wrap up here. But this is a segment that we do. It's usually towards the end, but it's going to be your cover zero take. We want to know, what is your spicy, sizzling hot take about the Dallas Cowboys, whether it be in this game or for the rest of the season moving forward.
Yeah, so I think that Sean McDermott is a little bit racist, to be honest. For my hot, I'm kidding. No, I think that my hot take, which isn't necessarily hot to me, but I guess to 98% of the football world, is that this Dak Prescott we're seeing right now is not a different Dak Prescott that we saw before his injury. I think he's playing to a consistent level right now that is easy for everybody to latch onto and say, wow, he's playing pretty well. But if you know and you know the way he plays, obviously he's more comfortable than he's ever been, and the offense seems like it's being ran through him and McCarthy are working really well together. But my hot take is that Dak Prescott has been this quarterback for a long time, and he's just kind of been trying to get back into the rhythm that he is in now.
I love that. I love that take, to be quite honest with you. It's definitely, that's actually an angle that we haven't really discussed that much, to be quite honest with you. But that's a very unique take, and to be honest with you, just think about it on the surface level. I don't think that that's an incorrect take. So I love that. I love
No.
that for sure. Spanky loves it as well. But Brady, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
It's been awesome having you. Appreciate you calling in. And yeah, we'll be fired up for Sunday night, as I'm sure you are.
I'm pretty fired up. Hopefully the next time that I get on here, I'll have something that I can show my face. Just my last closing thought. Latch on to A.J. Brown. Don't let the little French fry get over the top, and let's stop the run, and it should be a fun game.
Hell yeah. Can we get a fuck Philly before you leave?
Yeah, fuck Philly. Fuck every single one of them, and fuck Nick Sirianni most of all.
Love it. All right, Brady. Appreciate you calling in, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, we're not going to get monetized on YouTube after this podcast. That is for sure. But that's Brady.
That was awesome.
That's one of the boys. If you're an AWL, as you can tell, we're fired up. But I loved his take about Dak.
Yeah.
We've kind of hinted at that before, but we haven't really dove into it. And you know what? We'll talk about that more after the game on Monday. I don't want to put anything into the universe. We've already talked him up so much, but my score prediction for the Dallas versus Philly Sunday night football game, 34-24 Cowboys.
Okay. 34-24. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna take. Put it in the wrong section of the Google Doc. My fault. Okay. So, and just to give our listeners, I know I started doing updates about our preseason predictions and where we had everything, as well as our weekly score predictions. Just because me, Spanky, and Stu, we've been kind of competing a little bit to see, who can be closest to the score predictions by the end of the season. So as of right now, going off our preseason predictions Stu actually suffered his second loss of the week last week. Stu had us losing to Seattle. And again, this is preseason predictions before, the Diggs injury and that traitor fraud Shaq Leonard going to the Eagles, and Sean McDermott making some insensitive comments in a locker room pep talk about 9/11, and before Travis Kelce started dating Taylor Swift, before all of those things. So Stu had us losing last week. Spanky and I had us winning last week, so we did pick up a game on him. And just for that race, the current race is Stu and I are tied with 2 losses apiece. I don't know, just having my voice. Sorry about that. To our listeners, I just got attacked by a dry throat there. I'm not really quite sure what happened, but yeah, Spanky can't believe it. But Spanky is currently in last with 3 losses. Actually, he's now, after last week, he is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He is now 9-3 on the season. And Spanky and I are, Stu and I are 10-2. So Stu relinquishes his 1-game lead that he had on me. And Spanky and I pick up a game on him, getting me and Stu in a tie. And then for a score predictions race, and again, this is done. It only counts if the Cowboys win. And since we skipped the Carolina week when we had our buddy RJ Ochoa on the pod, by the way, shout out to RJ getting on with Kay Adam, the Up and Adam show today. She's very hot. We know RJ is a faithful married man. Yeah, a faithful married man with some very wonderful children. So shout out to RJ. But shout out to Kay Adams. Yeah, let's just clap it up for Kay Adams really quick. I mean,
like wood.
Yeah.
Get that on record.
Yeah, very, very beautiful woman. But Spanky leads our score predictions race. He's at 3. I won last week, so I'm at 2, and Stu is also at 2. So Spanky still is holding on to his lead there, and Spanky's already in with a, you said 34-24?
Yes.
Okay. So my score prediction. Okay. No, this is a big one because Stu's not here, so we have you have a chance to expand your lead, and obviously Stu is going to be neutral this week. We're not going to let him make his pick since pretty sure he's probably asleep right now. But for my score prediction this week, I'm really tempted to say that we're going to score in the 40s, but I got to give those Dirty Birds just a little bit of respect. But I'm going to say that we're going to get damn close. I'm going to say final score Dallas 38, Philadelphia 33. I don't know where they're getting 33 from now that I'm thinking about that out loud, but I already said it. So, yeah, we're just going to roll with that. So both of us have us covering I think the spread is what, Cowboys 3.5?
Yeah.
I don't know if the line has shifted at all, but let me just double check that really quick just to make sure. So the line is, Dallas 3.5, and the over under is set. This is according to ESPN at 51.5. So Spanky has us getting
Expecting
to
a 27-24 win, Cowboys.
Yeah. So you had 34-24. So Spanky has us hitting the over. I also have us hitting the over. Both of us have us covering the spread. Brady, our guest selection this week, has us covering but not hitting. Is that math right? 27 and 17. That's 44. Yeah, not hitting the over. So, but the one thing we all have in common, obviously, this is a Cowboys podcast, but a Cowboys covering of the -3.5 point line. So if you want to tail us, tail that Cowboys to cover this week. But okay, as we wrap up here, cover zero takes. What do you got?
When on games we tend to air it out, shit doesn't really go that way. And so we've already kind of said Dak has a great game, Mike has a great game. So I'm going to try to refrain myself from airing them out and just spraying at the hip, because when that happens, just think Cardinals, just think that Seattle, like, kind of just arms race of a game. So I'm gonna play it mildly conservative this week, and I'm just gonna say CeeDee Lamb has an 8 for 120 and 1 stat line.
8, 120, and 1. I love that. Okay. So for my cover zero take, and I already talked about one of my takes, which was that Dak is going to cement himself as the MVP frontrunner in this game, which I do fully believe is going to happen. I already said he's going to go for 303 touchdowns. And my cover zero take is going to be that, or my other cover zero take, outside of Dak cementing himself as MVP frontrunner, is going to be, we're going to see a big play in this game from a guy not named Jake Ferguson, not named CeeDee Lamb, but we're going to see a very big play from Brandon Cooks. Kind of similar to how we saw a very big play from Jalen Tolbert when we played Philadelphia the last time. Had a couple big catches, actually, and that was really when we started pounding the table saying he had to be getting snaps over Michael Gallup. But as I already kind of alluded to earlier, Brandon Cooks is going to need to be more involved in this game, and I'm expecting out of him probably on par with what he's been doing the last couple weeks. I'm going to say Brandon Cooks, I'm going to say 5 for 75 and a touchdown this week. He's been on a little touchdown streak. So I'm going to say that we get a big game out of Brandon Cooks, and he's probably going to have a very important touchdown at some point in the game. So I'll say that. But with all that being said, in our cover zero takes in the books, do you have anything else that we want to add before we sign off here?
I'm all set.
Okay. All right. Well, as always, thank you guys so much for listening to us today. And as always, please listen to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube. And please follow us on our Twitter and our TikTok at DallasBCPod. Follow us on Instagram at DallasBCPodcast for emails. If you want to get in touch with us that way about sponsorships or inquiries, please email us, and that'll be podcasttbc@gmail.com. And this is Burke and Spanky signing off here. Fuck Philly.